Hello and welcome to the Underhive. Today we are talking about patch 1.7 in Bannerlord. Quite a significant patch from what I've glanced here. But ultimately, if you didn't want to read through the patch yourself, I'm going to read through it here and give some opinions on it. So sit back, grab yourself a drink, and we'll take a look. So first things first, please be aware that in order for save files to be compatible with 1.7.1 or any later updates, you should first load your save file with 1.7.0. So if you have got an ongoing campaign in the standard unmodded version, then you may want to just update and at least play the game for a moment and then save it so that you could continue for later patches. I think that's fair enough that they put the notice up there. It's not going to affect myself at the moment, and I'm not going to be able to play 1.7 at the moment anyway, because I'm midway through a Trials of the Seven Kingdoms playthrough, and that is on 1.6.4 currently. I am aware they want to go to 1.7, but apparently it's a big job. I can believe that. So, it's going to be some time until that is the case, and we'll probably be on another playthrough at that point. But we will be streaming today, and I am going to be streaming some Bannerlord. I hadn't decided until I just started making this video, but we are going to be playing some Bannerlord. I'll probably be live around the time this video goes up, so come drop in and say hi if you'd like to. So, initial changelog, so single player. So we've got a load of crash fixes here. So let's have a look. When a dead agent's missile killed another agent. So if you killed a dude while his arrow was already in the air, could cause a crash. I've never experienced that. It seems relatively unlikely, but it's good that it's fixed. I'm not going to say that for all of them. Obviously, it's good they've fixed crashes, regardless of how likely or unlikely they are to happen. So after interacting with an object just before the hideout boss cinematic, so like if you pick up a shield or something, yep, that'd be annoying. Could happen a bit more frequently. Upon death during battle, I mean, I've maybe had crashes when dead once or twice, but not a significant amount. Campaign map crash that occurred on the campaign map due to optimization bug. Okay, I have had crashes on the campaign map. When exchanging prisoners in towns, I haven't had that. When finishing the Destroy Raiders quest, fair enough. When attempting to grant peerage to a companion while having no suitable fiefs to grant. So instead of saying, no, you can't do that, it just breaks. So I'm glad they fixed that. When exiting scenes, so I assume that's like exiting from a town or exiting from a village. When attempting to forfeit a board game, so that'll be in the in and out quest. When interacting with a disbanding party. Okay. When attempting to use the transfer all command in the inventory or party screen while interacting with the transfer slider or while dragging an item. Fair enough. I mean, that's a crash caused by multiple different scripts running at the same time, I imagine. But yeah, it's good they fixed that. And the last one that occurs when changing languages during the rival gang moving in quest fight. Fair enough. Doesn't really affect me. I keep it in English, but again, it's good for the international players that that's getting fixed. Performance improvements. So I've been playing the game since it released into early access. The performance has definitely gotten better over that time, but I'm glad to see they're not resting on the laurels there. I'm aware that it doesn't play as well as it should for my specs sometimes, so I'm glad to see that they keep doing that because it isn't fully optimized yet, but in fairness, it's still early access, so you can't fault them for that. So improve the performance of morale computations. Good. Improve the performance of the character creation, inventory screen, and scoreboard. So the scoreboard will be a multiplayer thing, I imagine, or maybe it's like the in-game, like I've killed 10 dudes and I've lost 3 from my party sort of tab when you're in a battle screen, because this is still under the single player heading. So yeah, maybe it's that scoreboard. Inventory screen, I do sometimes get a stutter, maybe a second or so. And again, I've monitored it. It's not due to CPU overload or GPU overload or anything like that, or even disk space. It's nothing to do with any of that. So I'm glad to see they're improving that. Just breaks the immersion a little bit when it's got that bit of a stutter. And then character creation, this is a big one. For quite a while, the initial character creation screen loading has taken way longer than it should, and the loading screen quite often runs at only a couple of frames per second for that. They have improved that bit previously, but the character creation screen itself, it's not that it stops you getting there. You know, you just go, right, I'll set the character creator going, and then I'll just nip and get a drink, and by the time I'm back, it'll be ready to create the character. But it's not ideal. It takes a bit of polish off the game. Improve the random number generator and its performance. I'm not really sure what reference that random number generator has, whether it is everything, you know, whether it's just deciding the sort of loot that goes in a tournament prize pool, or the piece of loot that is specifically going to be given for that tournament, or whether it's, you know, everything, you know, whether this particular influenced person has more troops now, whether said troop has now leveled up and it will be recruited as an archer rather than a recruit, or what have you. So if it's the random number generator that they're using for essentially everything else, then there are a lot of random elements in the game, and that could make a massive difference. Rework the transfer operations in siege to work in sequence over several ticks instead of all at once to prevent spikes when the AI needs to do major changes in formation. So the transfer operations isn't something that I'm 100% sure on. Like, I don't know if that's, oh, I'm building a trebuchet, no, I want to build a catapult instead, or whether it's when we're in the siege and we're like saying, you know, don't stand at the gates, stand on the walls or whatever. I assume this is in when we're building the siege equipment. I haven't ever really noticed any performance issues for that, but it's still good they're fixing it. Optimize the code behind the campaign behavior to improve general performance. That's very good. Optimize the code in relation to siege machines, formations, and formation AI. So this is something I've been banging on for a year or so now. But yeah, particularly with regard to siege towers, the AI just doesn't really understand. That does extend to ladders as well. They do use the battering rams fairly effectively. They always get on the battering ram straight away. They replace dead soldiers on the battering ram. They bring it up to the door and use it effectively. So that I don't have any issues with, but the siege towers were a massive issue. Now, again, I'm playing in Trial of the Seven Kingdoms at the moment, and I don't know whether the siege towers had been affected by that patch, but I don't think so. I think they've modded in their own siege towers, which are essentially ramps rather than ladders. And although it's a narrower ramp rather than the 3 ladders, they do seem to work fairly well. And again, it could have just been on that one map. I haven't done an awful lot of siege offenses in the mod as yet, but we're going to be doing more as that series continues. So, hopefully we'll see whether that is the case, but I feel like that had been modded in. But ultimately, if they're fixing the AI in that regard, that's going to make a massive difference to the immersion and the enjoyment of sieges. Optimize the code and fix spikes in relation to the recruitment of Lord parties. So again, that's not necessarily something you're going to know is affecting you, because there's a lot of lords, particularly in Trial of the Seven Kingdoms, but there's a lot of lords on the map at any time. They are all moving, they are all recruiting, so there are a lot of calculations running on in the background. Any improvement to that's going to be great. Fix spikes in relation to declarations of war. Again, I think I've seen like odd little lag spikes when the message comes in that we're now at war, but not too bad. In relation to mobile, party, and settlement cached variables. So that goes a bit above me. I don't know what cache variables they are referring to there, but that's going to be important. Optimize code in relation to settlement visitation score calculations of all parties. So I don't know what the visitation score really refers to, because it's not a statistic we utilize in the game, but maybe regarding some of the perks that when you visit a village, you can gain a relation. That's obviously very useful across a whole army. So you might have, say 30 lords or 20 lords or whatever. They're going into all sorts of villages, perhaps generating relation with all of those villages. There's a lot of calculations going on at the same time. So, improving that is good. It could relate to something else entirely, but visitation score doesn't really mean a lot to me, if I'm honest. fixed a memory leak which occurred when loading a save file with the player character in a faction. So that is massive. They've not said that that's categorically happening every time, but any memory leaks are bad. They plugged a lot, over the last 6 months and before. So, the fact that they're still noticing them and plugging them, I'm happy with. Save and load. Fixed a bug to prevent companions from spawning in settlements after loading a save. Fine. I don't quite understand what that means. Let's go back to that. So is that from spawning in the settlement if you were loading the save and you were already in the settlement? It's not very clear. I think that could be better written, but at the end of the day, it's fixing a bug. Map info bar extended state is now tracked in the game save data. So the info bar is at the bottom of the screen. It's hard to know where that'll be here because I'm cutting a bit of the screen off. So it's sort of like down here and it'll tell you your party size, how much food you've got, all that sort of stuff. You can extend it so that you can see the movement speed and a few other bits. So yeah, that generally reverts back to minimal when you load again, but they've changed that to keep hold of it, which is fine. It's a nice little feature, but I don't think anybody's going to be that annoyed about it. Localization, added the following game localizations: Espanol, Latin American, Francais, Italiano. I mean, I feel like that could be a Chinese language. I wouldn't want to guess. That looks like a Chinese, what's the word? Symbol? I'm not sure. Whereas that's a bit more Japanese, isn't it? They look a bit more like kanji, but I'm not 100%. But I think that is a Chinese localization. Polish, presumably Russian, Portuguese, Brazil. So that's good. All these players. I mean, there's a lot of people in European countries like Poland, Russia that enjoy the game. It's also very popular in China. Not sure about Japan. Not really sure about France and Italy, but ultimately it's good that those people can play the game. You can select these languages in the game options. We're still working on the Deutsch translation, so that's German, not Dutch, which will follow in the future. So German players, rejoice. Although, to be fair to Germany and a lot of those other countries, not to make this a political thing, but a lot of German people can speak English. Not to say they should have to play a game in English, but, I don't think that's as detrimental to them as it would be, for example, for English people if the game was only in German, because quite a lot of English people are lazy in terms of learning other languages. I myself am included in that. Please report any localization issues here. So there you go. Added subtitles to the campaign intro for the supported languages. Pretty good. If they went to the effort of making the intro, they might as well make it accessible to everybody. General localization improvements, Chinese language updates. There we go. Art. We've got 2 new armors, ornate legionary scale mail and decorated legionary mail. So they're only for the Empire as it stands. I do think the Empire at the minute is probably one of the most lacking. Vlandia as well. I think Khuzait have got a decent amount of high-tier gear, and this is clearly high-tier gear. Legionary Mail is pretty top-end. So Khuzait are pretty good. I'm not so sure about the Aserai. I feel like they've got a decent amount, but maybe not too much. Sturgeon have got a decent amount. Britannia have got a decent amount. I'd like to see some more for Vlandia, possibly some more for the Aserai as well. Fixed a bug. Alright, we've skipped a few. Added ballista covers to various towns and castle scenes. Well, that would have helped our man Barry Clegane in the current series, because when we were manning that ballista, we took 2 arrows, 1 to the neck. So yeah, that didn't finish us off, but it certainly helped. So yeah, we definitely are happy to have some ballista covers. Fixed minor bugs in various scenes. Fine. There are bugs in the sieges, definitely, and the towns themselves, so I'm glad they're fixing that. Improve some materials and textures. That's good if you've got a high-end machine and using top textures. Fix the bug that caused some villages to burn without being raided. Obviously, that's quite important. It must be something that's causing it to register as it being raided, but yeah, that's that. Fix the bug that caused snow to disappear from the campaign map for a short amount of time during winter. That does annoy me because it makes it look like my system's responsible for that, and I knew it wasn't. But yeah, occasionally you'll be riding around, everything will go green for like 5 frames, and then go back to snowy. Bit annoying. So I'm glad they fixed that. Audio. Music intensity now slightly increases when a charge order is given. Yeah, that's a nice immersive feature. Added new animation sounds for civilian scenes. That's good. Added ambiences to keeps and taverns. That's good. Because they did seem a little bit dead, to be fair, the keeps and taverns. So it's glad that we've got a bit more ambience. Fixed the bug that allowed tavern music to play when music was turned off in settings. That, again, I like. The tavern music is immersive. You know, the gameplay music is you know, personal preference. Do you want it? Do you not? Are you going to add your own music? You know, if you're not creating a series, then it doesn't matter. You're not going to get DMCA'd for privately enjoying some music while you play. But I think having the tavern music on nonetheless is good still. Some UI changes. New mission name marker system. Changed mission name marker visuals with the Alt key from text to icons. The icon names will become visible when centered on screen. So we'll have to check that out when I get a chance to see what the real difference is there, but that's fine. Markers no longer overlap, so that's, you know, just a nice quality of life change. Increase the custom battle army size to 1,000 versus 1,000. I imagine that's a precursor to them increasing the overall game size to 2,000 from 1,000, but we'll see. I don't really play custom battles, but you know, it's good if you want to do that. Party movement speeds are now shown next to the party name. That's useful to know when you're going to get chased, particularly with the addition that the extended stat screen at the bottom is going to be showing you your speed, and it's not going to be, you know, saved. Well, when you load in, it's not going to be collapsed again. So that's good. Notables that support the player clan are now shown in the clan screen on the income tab. That's fine. I don't generally live long enough for that to be a factor, but, you know, if you're not playing permadeath, that will be a thing at some point. Added a continue button to the launcher that loads the most recent save. I think that's a nice quality of life thing. Personally, because I'm playing modded, I would probably still load the game and then load the save. But if you're just playing vanilla, I think that's a nice little feature. Things like Total War Warhammer have that, and I tend to use that on there as well. So, yeah, it's a good little feature. If you're going to have a launcher, I think that's something you should think about as well. Added a new game option, hide battle UI, and disable mission UI. So that's good. I imagine there was... it's just to disable the mission UI. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, that's all right. It allows you to get some immersive shots. That's probably more useful to the likes of me for creating videos. But, you know, if you know what your UI will be telling you anyway and you want to get rid of it just to be a bit more immersed, that's good too. Added icons and text to weapon tooltips to show if the weapon is braceable and or couchable. Good stuff. I mean, couchable was a tooltip anyway, but braceable is good to know. Improved the save load screen visuals, added hero health percentage value to save games, and expanded module section. That, I think, is pretty good, because I loaded in thinking I had some health and nearly charged out right into a fight that would have been a tough one with like 23% health, only just enough to allow me to actually fight. But I noticed in time and then pulled back. But it'd be good to see that on the save screen. And expanding the module section, yeah, it's a bit bare bones. It's good to, you know, have a bit more information there, or at least just make it more obvious, you know, as to what you've got loaded in. Added a game option, stop game on focus lost, that stops the game when the focus to the game window is lost. So pause it on Alt Tab. I personally like that it continues to run when it's Alt Tabbed, but it's a nice little feature. If you don't want it to. Added a label to the Kingdom screen, Diplomacy tab, that shows how many days have passed since the start of a war. That's a nice little feature. I would be interested in that statistic. Not something that's going to make or break the experience, but that's pretty nice. To be like, oh, we were at war with Dawn for, 6 months, but with, I don't know, High Garden only, a couple of months. But yeah, it's just a nice little statistic there. Added an owned caravans line to the character tooltip, so we can see how many caravans we own at a glance. I don't tend to go with the caravans just because they never end up really making the money back, in my opinion. But Each to their own. I suppose they can if you've got pretty high trade skill, and past a certain point they increase your trade skill. So if you're trying to go for it for that reason, then there's more to it than just the profits from the trading. Added governor perk information of inspected characters to the governor selection tooltip. So your governor is somebody that you're putting in charge. So they'll be one of your companions, and it will then show you the relevant perk information. So things like, I imagine, what is it called now? Stewardship, possibly charm, maybe engineering, depending on the area. So yeah, it'd be good to have that just visible. There's one here that I haven't seen yet. I'm not going to jump ahead and see if it's there, but I want to see smithing stamina on the waiting in towns, because that's one of the reasons you might be waiting. So just to see that it's now full, you can stop waiting, would be nice. Obviously you can just go in the smithy and check it, but that's 2 extra clicks to check it when they could just make it visible there. Added, well, hopefully we're going to see that, but added governor perk to, all right, we've read that one. Improved the visibility conditions of quest markers, the blue and orange exclamation marks. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I didn't think they were so bad anyway, but each to their own. Enabled the kingdom and clan screens while blocking the actions within them while being held captive. So enable the kingdom. Okay, so you can't do anything with them, but you can still view them while you're a prisoner. Yeah, it's fine. Improve the order of Encyclopedia search results. Okay, so it's probably like by relevance now or something. Added garrison information to town management pop-up. That's pretty good. Added character death information to war logs. Yeah, again, it's good to know who's died. Generally pops up saying that such and such was lost now, but fine. Added building completed and level up alerts to the lower left chat log. That's pretty good. It's nice to know it's done, because sometimes it's like 20 days and you're like, well, if you're doing a lot of fights, you might play for an hour and it's only been 3 days. Whereas if you're waiting in a town, you could leave it running an hour and that would be, 20 odd days or whatever. So it's important that shows you that. And made it possible to cancel party creation for a clan member via the clan screen. Yeah, nice little feature. So we've got some bug fixes here. A bug that caused quests related to mobile party trackers to be removed after loading a save. Yep, that's pretty good. Again, all of these, I'm only going to comment so much if I've seen them be a big problem myself. Maybe they have been for other people. I'm not saying that they're not an issue, but it's good that they fixed them. So fix the bug preventing save game tuples. Save game tuples. I don't know what that means. From showing non-Latin characters. Maybe it's a Latin word. If the file name included these characters while the game was set in Latin character language. Well, it's good for people with Latin localization. Prevented dungeon prisoners from being displayed. Well, that's important, yeah. Caused the prisoner conformity value to be reset after transferring prisoners. Yep. Caused the banner selection in character creation not to be applied in sandbox. Well, I've had that not be applied in campaign. So, yeah, hopefully they're doing that for that too. They caused party name and speed to expand inwards to 3D visual. Text now expands outwards, keeping the party visual visible. Good. Caused a double click on campaign map to use the first double click location. Okay. I haven't noticed that one. I've noticed sometimes you double click and it just defaults to single click, but maybe that's me. Prevented Ransomer's clan name from appearing on the captive's Encyclopedia page. Good. Caused exclamation marks to be missing from quest givers in some menus. That's important. Caused the tournament reward was added to the inventory notice to show up even if the winning companion was not in the player's party. Well, that's not good. Telling you you've won something you haven't, or giving you something you haven't won, not good. Related to Rebel Clan leaders members, that caused incorrect text to be displayed in the Encyclopedia. Fine. Prevented trash item thumbnails from being displayed in the inventory. Okay. Caused the wrong location info to be shown in a prisoner's bar under the Kingdom Diplomacy tab. Well, yeah, that's annoying when you want to go and try and save them. And fix the bug that caused the wrong armor colours to be used during the tournament victory cheering animation on the scoreboard. I have seen that, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, quite often you'll have played on more than one team throughout a tournament if you win it, so It's not a big deal. And if you don't win it, I generally don't stay around to the end. So, battles and sieges. So this is something that we want to see. Have we got much more? We have got quite a lot more. I was thinking this was going to be a short video, but turns out it's not. Turns out it's going to be quite a long one. So scratch what I said. This is going to be up tomorrow, not on the day of the stream. So you've missed the stream now, sadly, because this is going to take enough time to render and upload and process that it's not going to be up today. So, back to where we were. Battles and sieges. Added a new battle terrain system. The spawn positions and the facing directions of each side inside the field battle mission are now determined by the encounter position and direction on the campaign map. Spawn positions and facing direction of each side inside the field battle mission are now determined by encounter position and direction. Okay, so that to me doesn't say the word siege. So I'm not sure it does actually relate to sieges as opposed to missions. But that's fine. Even if it is sieges, that's good. I like the immersive. We've attacked from this side. We should be coming from this side. That's fine. Adding 23 new battle scenes and for the more recognizable locations. That's pretty good. Not going to affect mods, but, well, not necessarily going to affect mods if they have their own castles, but otherwise good. This increases the current total count to 72. So that's a lot more variability. We're looking to expand that pool further. That's good. Got to have a cheeky drink here, though. The new order of battle system. The new deployment screen has added... Let's try that again. A new deployment screen has been added, which appears before every battle mission with at least 20 troops on the player's side if the encounter is not an offensive sally out. So, yeah, that's pretty good. So if you're in a mission or if you're not in a siege or whatever, you get a deployment screen. That's pretty good. You get one when you siege attacking. Players can divide troops into different formations by troop type using percentage sliders. That's pretty nice. So you don't have to split like infantry, heavy infantry now. You can go, I want half my infantry here, half my infantry there. That's good. Players can give preference to shield, spear, throwing, and heavy troops in these formation combinations of these filters. One or more filter can be enabled. That is great. Because sometimes troops will lean towards two-handed weapons when they've got a shield and you're in a siege or an encounter. That is massive. And also, spears could be pretty important as well. In certain circumstances, you're going to want the spears if you're being attacked by cav or whatever. Probably less common in the encounters themselves, but still, throwing not necessarily as big a deal. I'm not sure what heavy would refer to, but they tend to throw when they're in range anyway, and that's normally not an issue. But if you're specifically saying don't throw and keep your shield up because you could get shot or whatever, that's pretty big. I like that. I'm looking forward to trying that out, actually. Players can assign captains to these formations. If they're the encounter leader, they can assign themselves to an empty formation if they're not the encounter leader. I like that. It's not clear what effect that would have as such, but it's nice. I like that. So I assume by assigning captains, it would be assigning other like named characters. Like you used to be able to do that in the order of battle. Like say if you're in such and such a person's army and you get to select infantry, you will get an order on screen saying charge the infantry, but you have to charge the infantry or it won't happen. So maybe it's like that, but if you're actually overall in command, the captain doesn't really do that. They just follow your order. So I don't know what effect that actually has, but I like it for immersion at the very least. Players can give starting orders to these formations and place them before the battle starts. Love that. Love that. I've been wanting that for ages. Warband had a similar thing, or at the very least mods did, but I think it was in the base game. Past a certain point with tactics. I think once you had a certain amount of tactics, you could. I might be wrong. It might just be from mods. It's been a while, but it's good to see they've got it here. Values, sliders, and filters set in the order of battle are saved between encounters. Great stuff. So if you like your army set up that way, it is saved. That is spot on. I'm really happy with this bit so far. Formation cards in the Order UI now include an explicit number of troops, their type, ammo bar, and morale. I like that. I like that a lot. Particularly in sieges or big drawn-out battles. If you're playing the role of the commander rather than getting in there on the charge, that is some really useful information to have. Improved the battle morale system. Agents will now slowly regain up to half of their initial morale in battles. Range kills now provide morale to allies, just like melee kills. Adjusted morale damage for different weapon types. That's good. I think things like hammers, axes, maybe two-handed swords, but like big brutal weapons should deal more morale damage. There are perks for it, but I think it should just be the case. And things like, swords and shields should deal a lot less because they're, you're still killing a dude, so it should still take some morale out of the enemy, but not as much. At the end of the day, everybody knew they were coming here for a fight. Fire Ballista now deals more damage. I haven't used a Fire Ballista, but I have used a Ballista, and they seem to deal a lot of damage, so I'm not sure that more is required, but fine. Morale damage from kills. Oh, it's more morale damage. Okay, yeah, it should certainly deal more morale damage. That's fine. I thought you meant flat damage there for a second. Morale damage from kills and fleeing agents have been adjusted for better gameplay. Okay, I don't know what that's going to refer to now, but like, I had a few troops run away the other day that I just didn't feel should have. We hadn't really lost more than 1 or 2 out of an archery core of 80. And I think maybe a couple of them had taken hits, but like 10 just ran away. So yeah, I mean, obviously there might have been lower morale units and higher morale units stayed. But I mean, it's saying better gameplay, so hopefully that's a thing. Fix the bug that caused morale penalties to ignore detachments of a formation when applied. Okay. So certain detachments weren't affected by morale. I didn't know that. Well, I mean, it's good they fixed it, because they should be. Increase the effectiveness of starvation as a siege tactic. Garrisons will no longer die from starvation. Instead, they become wounded and continue to consume food. Starvation penalty no longer uses low absolute numbers, but percentages similar to mobile parties. Larger garrison forces will suffer more wounded troops due to starvation than smaller forces. I like it. Because, yeah, I mean, if you imagine they're sort of like scrabbling around for every last bit of mouldy bread, if there's 100 of them looking for that one mouthful, a lot of them are going to go hungry. Towns now show the food stored in the market to correctly indicate the amount of food left in the town, giving a better idea of when starvation will begin. Yeah, I mean, that's good. Quite often, you're not going to get the chance to starve them out, unless you're rocking all of the armies, all of the parties in one army, and you just are forced to be reckoned with. They're going to get over to you. I mean, maybe if they've already got so little food that they're really ready to starve, but starving them out, and as it should be, generally takes weeks, and you just don't end up in the siege camp for that long because you generally get attacked. But it's good that it's a mechanic, so when you can use it, you can. Rework to the climbing of siege ladders and siege towers. Very good, very good. So not only have they reworked the equipment and the way that the AI works, but they have specifically mentioned it here. Not climbing some ladders, only using one ladder. That pissed me off so much. It's the reason that some of our characters died. Obviously, permadeath is a bigger penalty. I apply that penalty to myself. Normally dying doesn't matter, but yeah, basically we've had a fight that we did end up winning, but because nobody else had climbed the ladders, I went up alone and got killed. So yeah, it's an issue for me, but that I'm glad they're fixing it. The swarming and moshing, I like that they've used that word, at the base of the ladder of siege towers. Yeah, that again, it probably relates to the same thing. They just don't climb the ladder; they just all push and shove at the bottom. I think moshing is a perfect word for that. Agents pushing each other and getting stuck in gaps between ladders. Okay, yeah, I mean, that all seems to be related to the same thing. Re-pathfinding by going back down the ladders and out of the siege tower, only then to come back up the ladder again. Yeah, I've seen that, and that's annoying too. AI agents having trouble climbing, attaching to ladders due to not looking up the ladder. Oh, okay. Missing and walking past ladders. Agents will now continue to raise the siege ladder after taking damage. Okay, that's good. It does sort of knock you off you're like they're holding the ladder and then you get shot and you drop it, so they'll pick it back up. That's good. Or, well, I mean, the way it's worded, it kind of means like they like stumble but carry on. But I don't know if it just means that they won't be like, oh, right, I'll do something else. They'll pick it back up. Implemented various other siege mission improvements. Well, I'm glad for that. Attackers can no longer flee while they are using ladders and siege towers, or when they are on the castle walls. They'll fight to the death. Yes, that is a massive buff for the attackers, because the fact that you only really suffer morale outside the walls is good. And if they're basically increasing, like, I mean, I don't know if fire ballistae means all ballistae, but maybe not. Oh no, it doesn't, because there are there are specific types you can build. But yeah, basically, if you're more likely to drive them off when they're approaching, which should be the case. I feel like that's the time you'd crack. But when you're in the walls, that's it. You're fighting to the death. I love that. That's a great change. It'll definitely feel more immersive. Increase the threshold and it'll be less annoying that, like, you burst in with 10 dudes against, I don't know, 10, 15 dudes, and then, like, 1 or 2 of yours dies and they all bugger off and leave you to fight the remaining 12 on your own. That's not going to happen now. That's good. Increase the threshold for transferring troops around in a siege to reinforce defending positions with many losses. That's good. To reduce the small number of troops running from wall to wall too often. That's good. Added additional pointers and logic to siege scenes to help defenders recognize attack directions correctly. That's good. Fixed a bug that caused archer formations to swap places in sieges. Yeah, I've seen that. That is right annoying. You're just shoot the bow, mate. He's like, you couldn't miss him. There's 50 of them in front of you. Just shoot the bastards. Well, that's good. We've read that one. Fixed the bug that causes siege towers to spawn invisible. That'd be annoying, yeah. I haven't noticed that, but I don't build them because they couldn't climb the buggers. So, yeah, I'm glad that's done. Improve the siege weapon reloading behavior of AI agents that select which agents will conduct the reload. Okay, that's good. Fix the bug that causes defensive siege engines to appear in the siege mission that weren't built on the campaign map. Cheating siege defenders. How dare they? Added a game option, slow down while giving orders. That slows the game down by 75% when the player's giving orders. I'll not use that. I mean, I think, if you want to use that, that's fine, but I won't use it for immersion. I don't really like anything that slows down time. It just feels a bit cheaty. Other than when there's a lore reason for it. I really think Warhammer 40k games miss a trick here. Because sorry to divert, but like Space Marines are not just typical warriors. They're supposed to be so much faster than a human. But quite often in games, they're displayed at running as fast as a larger human could. So faster than a human, but not that much faster. But like a slowdown mechanic could be used to illustrate that. But not when you're supposed to be just a human in a game like Bannerlord. I don't think it's needed. Allied units can be issued commands while the enemy is retreating. Yes, that is something I wanted, because you want your cavalry to charge them down. You might not want your cavalry in the fight to get hurt unnecessarily, but when they're routed, that is exactly the use case of cavalry. Make sure the enemy don't escape. Quite often, cavalry were used specifically only in that way. For melee cavalry, obviously, if you had your knights, you might bring them in on the charge to perhaps break the morale of the enemy, but then they would be called in great numbers for your lighter cav, your yeomen, your men at arms, that have horses. They would charge in afterwards and clear up the rabble. So yeah, that is very fitting. I'm glad that's a thing. Fixed the bug that prevented the retreat done button on the scoreboard being used while close to a fleeing enemy. That is something that I've had a lot of encounters with, because I've gone in, killed a few, and then thought, right, I'll leave the rest. I should be able to retreat. They're fleeing. That's good. Again, not going to affect me for a while till we upgrade to 1.7, but I'm glad it's in there. Character development system. Rework the charm skill tree. Most of the existing charm skill perks were replaced with new ones. Charm skill perks now also have secondary effects. Very good. Fixed a known bugged perks and completed the partially implemented perks. Okay. The Artisan Smith perk now works for companions as well. Random clan names are now generated for the player's clan during character creation. Very good. Clan and party. Improve the algorithm that selects the companion's equipment after upgrading them to a noble. Okay, I don't think I've never done that, so it's good that it works at least. Workshops are now inherited by the heir after the main hero dies. So if you've got an heir, it can inherit. Fixed a bug that causes companions to talk about similar problems in the party consecutively. There's now a cooldown for each type of complaint. Very good. Fixed a bug that caused companions to spawn without their banners on their shields. Okay. Fixed a bug that causes companions that were promoted to nobles to have children that were older than them. Yep, that's weird. That's some time warp magic situation there. Fixed a bug that caused separate companions to spawn in hostile settlements. Okay. Fixed a bug that caused castles to spawn. To stop recruiting despite being below the wage limit. Fixed a bug that prevented family members from being able to join tournaments. Lord parties are now more intelligent when recruiting troops and avoid troop desertion. Yeah, because they would over recruit and then lose, like they'd recruit crap troops and lose good ones, so that's fine. Fixed a bug that caused some parties to engage on the campaign map even though they were weaker than the party they were targeting. I've never seen that, but okay. Parties are now able to flee to nearby allied parties instead of escaping in the opposite direction of the enemy party that's chasing them. Okay. So you kind of sort of like double back, that's fine. Fixed a bug that caused some parties on the campaign map to get stuck near buildings. Fixed a bug that caused disbanding parties to get stuck on the campaign map. Okay. Armies. NPCs in armies can no longer solve issues. Okay. Interesting. So that leaves more quests for the players. Armies now take their cohesion into account when they decide to start a new siege or raid. So they won't siege if they're immediately going to collapse. That's good as well. Fixed the bug that caused the relation penalty for executed members of minor mercenary clans to multiply. Oh, right, I didn't know that was a thing. Fixed the bug that allows enemies to attack the player after being released from captivity by paying a ransom. Okay, so they shouldn't be allowed to attack you, that's fine. Fixed the bug that allowed the player to join a siege after a safe passage agreement. Okay, so it should be agreed. So you should be let out and shouldn't be fighting. Reduced item prices overall. Items with higher tiers are reduced some more. Okay, so you're not going to need to get hundreds of grand now, perhaps. There was a bit of a weird balance on things. You know, it made it that you needed to leverage the smithing buy orders, in my opinion, to really make any money, unless you were leading your character very heavily into trade, or you were literally just farming looters for a while to get the money together to buy a weapon or two. So yeah, I'm glad that they've reduced the costs a bit. I think it was getting a bit excessive. Increase the selling trade penalty of high tier items progressively. The trading penalty when buying hasn't changed. So yeah, you're not going to get a massive amount for selling a high price item. They're going to try and make on the back end. Fix the bug that allowed the town's tax to become negative. It's now got a minimum of 0. That's fine. How the hell does negative tax work? The tax man just comes around, pays you money. Crafting. Added a crafting history to the crafting screen. Players can now see the last 10 weapons they've crafted in free mode. So you can make another one quickly. That's good. A better explanation of why the crafting order has failed has been added to the crafting weapon pop-up. Okay. So it's not just they're unhappy, it's like this is what they're unhappy about. Generally, it'd be anything below the threshold. I tend to not really worry about it. I just look at, right, if you're offering me 10, it means I'll get 5 if I just make you something, so I'll just make you something. But if you're trying specifically to impress them, then fair enough. The default inefficient refining recipe is now hidden after the player unlocks the charcoal maker perk. Okay, so it replaces it, so you can't inadvertently do that one by accident, which I have done. Fix the bug that prevents the switching of characters while smithing after selecting a crafting order and switching to refined smell options. Okay, fair enough. I don't tend to need to switch characters, but alright. Quests and issues. Added the dragon banners and pieces to the campaign mode, which will be acquired by completing the storyline quests. Not equipable for missions as of yet. So you can actually get the dragon banner as a thing, but not yet. Okay. Added missing exclamation marks for quest-related heroes and locations. Good. They mentioned that earlier. Completed the Army Needs Supplies quest will now increase the food of the army. Okay. So, like, you give them the stuff, but it will increase the stuff they've got. So, updated, deliver the herd. So, updated the selected livestock, removed the partial delivery option, decreased the crime rate and penalty, and updated the reward. Okay. Manual labourers, decreased the quest time limit from 30 to 10. So, it just makes you shouldn't really take it unless you know you can get them soon. Increased the maximum prisoner limit to 50. Okay. Added a new quest log. Remove the headman power and relation loss. Okay. Lord Lady needs a tutor. Fix the bug that caused the quest hero to get stuck in the player clan if the quest giver died and the quest was cancelled. Okay. Village needs grain seeds. Updated the successful relation gains. Okay. Updated the grain amount formula. Okay. Revenue farming. Increased the duration for gathering all taxes. Improved some text and logs. Instead of using a pop-up, the player now has to deliver the collected revenue to the quest giver or noble to one of the settlements that belong to them. Fine. Updated all quest events, consequences, and conditions. Quest event consequences will now be shown as a notification. That's good. Added 2 new quest events. Merge some quest notifications into one notification. Player has to have at least 20 healthy troops to start the revenue collection progress. Makes sense, you don't want to get attacked. Varro barking away there, I think. I'm not sure if it's being picked up by the mic. Disrupt supply lines. Increase the number of settlements that caravans visit to 6. Okay. The quest caravan now leaves the first town 5 days after the quest initiation. Changed the quest caravan party model, changed the quest caravan party base speed to 4. So that's making it quite a lot slower by the looks. Rescue your family. Last seen locations of siblings are now updated after the quest is completed. Radagos is now locked while entering the quest hideout. So that means he has to. Or can't, one of the two. Betting fraud decreases quest rewards, decreases the relationship bonus with the counter offer hero. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't really like the betting fraud ones, but it is what it is. Fix the bug that causes the landlord needs manual labourers quests to be impossible to successfully resolve. I will say it's good that it exists. Like, you know, if you want to do it, that's fine. I don't think you should be prevented from it, but I tend not to do it. Because they generally involve taking a dive, and I'd rather win the tournament and be a hero of the people. Fix the bug because the landlord needs manual labourers quest to be impossible to successfully resolve. Okay. Fix the bug that causes the loading screen to freeze if the rival gang quest had been taken while having the train troops or rescue your family quests. Okay. Haven't happened to me, but that would be quite annoying. Fix the bug that prevents the escort merchant caravan quest trade rumours from updating. Added a pop-up message that notifies the player to recruit more troops if needed while travelling during the locate and rescue traveller quest. Yeah, okay. Added a pop-up that explains the situation. I imagine that basically you just can't continue, but it didn't tell you, so now it's going to tell you. Added a pop-up that explains the situation after the main party retreats from Radagos hideout during the tutorial. Fine, I don't do the tutorial anymore. The main hero is now healed to 50% of maximum health after the main party is defeated or has retreated from Radagos hideout. Well, we're not going to be doing it. Fix the bug that allowed the main hero to recruit prisoners during the tutorial. Fix the bug that caused some main story quests remaining days to be set incorrectly. Fix the bug that displayed incorrect reasons for the player's inability to access quests. Okay. It's always good to know why, so you can do something about it. Fix the bug that caused some quest initial dialogues to be empty. All right. So we've only got a few more now. I'm not going to cover the multiplayer ones. I don't really play multiplayer, so I can't really attest to any of it. And I'm not going to cover the modding ones, because I think if you're into the modding, you'll probably be looking at that yourself. So that's that. So conversation and encounters. So it'll probably be like another couple of minutes here. Added the ability to create a new party or attach the companion to your own party via conversation after rescuing a companion during battle. Added additional beggar conversation lines. That's quite nice. Dialogue options are now listed across several pages instead of one long list. Max 5 options on each page. Good. Fixed. Well, yes and no, because it means you might miss. Excuse me. You might miss them. But it's good that there could be more than 5, which there might not have been previous. Fix the bug that causes the player to answer their own questions in workshops. All right. Fix the bug that caused dialogue to repeat over and over again after rescuing an imprisoned enemy noble. Added a dialogue response that lets players know if the courtship NPC becomes ineligible. Yeah, that's good to know. If you've been friend zoned, you want to know that. Renamed Warlord Scale Armor to Scale Warlord Armor. Okay, fine. I don't know, for me that makes more sense, because it is the scale armor of Warlord stature, as opposed to Warlord armor made of scale. But, yeah, I mean, each to their own. Renamed Footman Padded Coat to Padded Footman Coat. Okay, so it seems they're going that way with it all. Pluralized the name of bolt items, so it's bolts. Like bag of bolts rather than bag of bolt. Battalion Skirmisher, Battalion Veteran Skirmisher, Battalion Wildling now use an axe, shield, and 2 sets of javelins. Okay. Remove javelins from the Battalion Oathsworn. Okay. So if you go in top level melee, you just get melee. Asarai Mamluk no longer uses maces, instead they exclusively use iron scimitars. Replaces the helmets of Battalion Skirmishers and Veteran Skirmishers with one another. So, like, why was the vets worse, presumably? So, like, the vets get the better one now or something. Or maybe it's less of a helmet, because they're like, no, we don't need a helmet. Replace the helmet. Oh, no, so we read that. Update the Oathsworn weapon to now have one-handed bearded axe and the Highland throwing axe. Okay. So he's got a throwing axe instead of javelins. The following shields are now of Kuzate culture: Tribal Step Shield, Round Step Shield, Wicker Square Shield, Wicker Square Tournament Shield, Reinforced Wicker Shield, and Wicker Shield. Well, I mean, the Wicker ones always were, but I feel like they've added more Wicker ones, and the round ones were anyway, so that seems pretty obvious. Move militia troops to tier 2 and veteran militia troops to tier 3. So I don't know what difference that makes unless they've like added to the quality of them. But alright. I mean, it doesn't really matter that they're a given tier as such. I suppose in relation to the way that certain perks affect them, maybe. Maybe that's it. But okay. Reduced half-scale barding armor value to 40 from 76. Reduced scale barding armor to 50 from 125. So horses are getting a lot less protection there. Heavy quarrels now have 3 piercing damage. Okay, so they actually make a difference now. There was no reason to take heavy quarrels before this. And they're assigned to the Imperial Sergeant Crossbowmen, so they get more damage, so that's good. Light quarrels have 1 piercing damage and are now assigned to the regular crossbowmen. Sturgeon Archer now have a skill level of 100 in athletics, was 60, 50 in riding was 100, and 25 in crossbow was 15. Well, I mean, they don't use a crossbow much, but I suppose that could be better for them in tournaments. Variag now has a skill level of 70 in athletics. That's a buff up from 60. 40 in riding, down from 70. And 30 in two-handed, which is up from 10. Yeah, again, they don't really use two-handed an awful lot, but all right. The Sturgeon Archer now has a skill level of 40 in athletics. They're a lot quicker. 20 in riding, so they're worse at riding. The Variag veterans now have a skill level of 80 in riding, was 45, 30 in bow, 35 in bow was 45, and 15 in crossbow was 20, 80 in throwing was 100. Again, they don't use any of those weapons other than tourneys, so it doesn't matter, really. Added new cheat, campaign.add _supporters _4 main hero bracketed number. This adds supporters to the main clan, which are selected from existing notables that already support or don't support other clans. Okay, I won't be using it. Added a new cheat. FaceGen.show _debogs bracket debug, not debogs, and then bracketed 0 to 1. This enables all of the build, weight, and age sliders for the body generation. Okay, not interested. Adds a new cheat, campaign.list underscore all underscore parties underscore and underscore armies underscore of underscore kingdom. This shows every party and army of the faction on the campaign map. Not interested. Rename the horse, sumpter horse, and warhorse classes to mount, pack mount, and war mount, respectively. So as opposed to being horse class, they are mount. So the camels fit into that as well, presumably. Updated Imperial Culture description. Okay. Change the village names for custom battle to uppercase. Fix the bug that caused notables to incorrect cultures to spawn in some villages. Fix the bug that prevented hideout boss companions from cheering when the boss defeated the player. Yeah, I mean, I suppose they should, but it's a bit of a kick in the tits, isn't it? So a lot of good changes there. Biggest thing to come out of that for me, sieges are a lot better now from the sounds of it. On one hand, I know I've promised through another couple of series for Bannerlord in the Game of Thrones mod, Trial of the Seven Kingdoms, and I know we're midway through one, but I'm actually really hyped to go back to 1.7 after that. So yeah, I think we'll probably only do those three that I've got lined up, the current one and another two, and then we're going to try 1.7 out. Because, to be honest, it sounds like once you go 1.7, you never go back, because the sieges are going to be a lot better. But truth be told, I do think, other than the hideouts, which do seem to be quite botched in, the added sieges anyway, not necessarily the basic standard vanilla ones, but the added sieges in Trial of Seven Kingdoms do feel a bit sus. So yeah, I'm probably going to try and avoid them now, even though I really like doing them. But I feel like that for 1.7, when the patch comes out for that, is going to be massive. I think it'll help a hell of a lot in that mod, a hell of a lot in other mods, and also a hell of a lot in the base game. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a bit of a ramble, near on an hour there. If you stuck to the end, you are a true legend. Give yourself a legend point, and I'll provide some ways to spend those in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time in the Underhive.